Oh boy, it's time to talk about one of my favorite books of all time. What's up, everyone? Maud's Book Club. We are on our bonus book. What are you talking about, Jeff? I'm not the only one who didn't connect with this book. Geez. Show of hands, who didn't connect? I know Tim's got his hand up. Darius, you didn't. Kate, no, don't you dare let me down. Katie, you didn't like this one?
I hated this book. I was like waiting for it to get better and better, and it never did.
Well, it's a tragedy, but you didn't.
I've talked to so many people today about the book and how much I hated it.
I've never done this to Katie before. Where's the kick button? Bam. I'm kidding. You can disagree with me. Okay, full disclosure, this is one of my favorite books of all time. This is a break the scale book for me. This is a 6 out of 5 book for me. I love Madeline Miller's writing. I love the tragedy of this story. I hate tragedies, but I loved the poetic nature of this. I loved the complexity of this story. I fell so in love with Achilles as a character, Patroclus as a character. There's, oh my God, Jeff's face. He looks like he's in pain. You are wincing at me. You are wincing. I loved everything about this book. This is the second or third time that I've listened to it. What? Avery, you didn't like it as much this time? Okay. I didn't cry nearly as much this time. I will say that. Gaia, darling, thank you so much for renewing. And you said, I loved this book in all capitals, 36 months together. Erd has resubbed for 20 months. Avery for 31 months. I know that Cheyenne is racing home to have conversations about this book. But yeah, look, we're doing full spoilers for this one. I will try to be on my best behavior and I will listen to people's opinions about one of the greatest books of all time. Thank you for reading it, even if you didn't like it. Usually we have a pretty good success rate. Christ. What did you give this book out of 5? Is book good? Keep in mind I gave it a 6. 6 out of 5. A 6. So let's go through some of them. Is book good? Catch says, can we disagree with you? Are you sure? I will try. Avery, let's start with you. The first time we read it, I gave it a 5 out of 5, but this time around it's sitting at a 3.5 out of 5. Why the drop for you this time?
So I think a big part of it is, since that, like, this was one of, like, my first ventures into, like, literature that involved, LGBTQ characters. And since then, I have read a lot more. Like, a lot more. That's pretty much all I read now.
Okay. Wow, so you've had a huge journey with the genre.
Yeah. And I have since kind of grown in my understanding of the difference, what I see as the difference between, like, queer and gay literature. Mm-hmm. And this sits solidly in the gay literature area. And it has to do with how much actual subversion happens in the story, and this has almost none.
What do you mean by that?
So a big part of queer culture is subversion, with, like, how people don't fit into society, basically. It's like taking, like, what these boxes that are created and breaking them. Being like, no, I don't live in this box. This isn't what is, like, built, like, isn't for me. I want to exist outside of the expectations put on me. And that is, like, a huge part of queer culture. It's a huge part of queer storytelling. A modern example of what would be a good example of, like, a queer story would be the current AMC show Interview with the Vampire / Vampire Lestat. Mm-hmm. They do a really good job with that, like, queer, like, subversion and discussing those different themes. But this book doesn't really have any subversion at all. It's very much like, you've got the like strong man who's like, and then, like, the, like, kind of weaker man, and they're like weaker, more feminine man, and they're very, like, that, like, top bottom dynamic, as they call it, that doesn't break any sort of like expectations, I guess, for what the characters are, or what the character like if you replaced one, like if Patroclus was replaced with a woman, not
like
much of the
they did in
story would
Troy,
have
the
changed.
movie. Mm-hmm.
Like the story wouldn't really have changed at all.
I think I notice it more, maybe because I'm not exclusively reading the genre. I think what I loved, a couple of things for that, and this is a really good discussion point actually. In ancient Greek times, it actually wasn't as unheard of. There was what do you mean no? Jeff is saying yes. Yes. It was a lot of the time a sign of status to have a concubine that was male. Usually they were younger, and they kind of hinted towards that in the book, where it's like, look, it's something that you do when you're younger, or it's like a status symbol, but then you grow out of it. Jeff, what am I getting wrong?
I think I just read it really differently. Like it took today's weird standards of queerness and so on and projected it back to this. Like there was such a wonderful opportunity to like just have it be normalized, to go one of two ways: either have them be like outside the box sort of characters, or to completely just normalize it and have no one say anything about it. But instead it chooses neither. Wow. And it sets it almost in today's morality, and then says that being gay is somehow bad. Like it really, that struck me really poorly for the whole book. It was very weird.
Right. Because let's look at some of the beats that we had in this book. Like, no one really turned an eye when he did select Patroclus as his companion. And if anything, it was that he wasn't of the same elite sort of status. He was an exiled prince. And so that was like the tarnish. The king did sort of kind of keep saying, what about a girl? What about a girl? Because I think that again goes down into marriage, get heirs. Like, have kids, get heirs, and start that process soon. So they think about, building the legacy, the family, the name, the sons, which is of that time as well. I think the thing I loved about this book so much is that it's something that Achilles should have grown out of, and that it stops becoming acceptable when you're experimenting or trying things, or, when you're younger. But he's made his decision, and every step of his life brings Patroclus with him and doesn't negotiate that term. I think that's what I loved about this book, is that you have the most powerful masculine man who is a built warrior with a destiny backing him. And the non-negotiable for him is that his man is with him, and that he chose Patroclus absolutely and completely. I think it's an interesting one because in the Greek times, it was way more acceptable. But then you also had that part there where Thetis, his mum, kind of hides him as a girl, where he dresses and pretends to be a woman. And that's the shame. That was unacceptable. So it does kind of go into what's cool and what's not cool. And that was like a big no. And Achilles. But what I loved about Achilles is that he couldn't really easily be shamed. He was so emboldened by this choice, and it was like I said, like the non-negotiable aspect of it. But I really love these conversations, and I think it's really interesting. Vaden's saying that he didn't get that opinion from it either. So the fact that Jeff, you and Avery feel one way, and then a couple of us feel another way, like that's really impressive as well. I think that's really cool. Like which one's right and which one's wrong. I don't think it's also a shorter book. Maybe if there was sort of more time to go into that. I just loved that part of it. But Avery, I think you've made a really good observation here. You've got a lot more to compare and contrast to these days. You've read a lot more queer stories, and so there are different beats. I just think, for me, I know that it's an ancient Greek setting, and so it doesn't have today's phobic tendencies behind it from that society can place. There are going to be people who have queer stories that are very normal, and the queerness isn't the label or the elephant or the thing that needs to talk about. Other people experience incredibly devastating stories with their queer journey, and that also needs to be a part of this. I think that I don't think this is the same story if you change out Patroclus. I don't. I think that this being Patroclus' story, and that's, you know, he's defying a not as polarizing sort of like social law. That's how I see it. We got lots of hands up. Vaden, we're going to go to you and then Tim.
Yeah, so to reference what we're talking about with him being a man versus, let's say, if it was a woman in place, it would make a big difference because, like, for example, the whole reason Achilles had a kid with that woman, I forgot her name is, right, or something, was because
one of those.
Yes, I hear her name. But basically, the reason they had the whole situation was because his lover was Patroclus. Like, if it was a woman, he would have had the one, and then he would have had the heir with there. Like, they needed a woman, and ideally one of no birth, to have the kid pirates later on, and that was critical for a lot of things. But like, if Patroclus was a woman, that wouldn't have been the same case. And like, for them having a male lover was, even though they kind of accepted it, it was still like, oh, you have it, but it's like a fun thing. It's here. That's not really a lover. It's like here's sex. You have sex, whatever you do, whatever you want. You have your fun times, but it's not serious. But it wasn't the case with Achilles. Achilles, Patroclus was his world. Yeah, he loved him fully. So it wasn't the same thing. It's not cocky my sign like that situation. It's just pure love at that point.
Berkey was saying in the comments that it was a 2 out of 5, but it did inspire him to read Emily Wilson's translations of the Iliad and the Odyssey, which were actually great, and a 5 out of 5. Hey. Vanessa, you said that you also were inspired to pick up a copy. Which one did you get? I mean, the Odyssey's coming out soon.
Yeah, I got the Odyssey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm excited. And then I'll do the Iliad after that.
Do you think maybe that the conversation with this relationship, was it about masculinity? Was it about love? Was it about what was appropriate or not? Was it about...
There's definitely a lot to unpack. Yeah. I'd like to think it was just about love because, yeah, it did bother me that they had to she kind of put that stuff in like, oh no, they're gay, isn't that awful? And that bothered me, but I don't know. I guess maybe people assume that it had to be like that because it's a classic. But I loved it. I just it was tough to read that part,
Yeah. You gave it a 4.9 out of 5, right? Because you're like, I loved it. I can't read this again. I cried so much the first time I read this book. The last few words of the book absolutely broke me. And I put it off so that I wasn't in public and I could like have a little mini breakdown at home if I needed to. And I didn't. I kind of was a lot more accepting of the ending this time, accepting of the tragedy that it was, and almost like, ugh, they will not break me. Rocco says this. I think this story was personally a 4 out of 5 for me. Loving that one. Tim, your hands up.
Yeah, couple things. One, my rating for this book is a little weird because it's kind of in two parts. As far as like the book as a piece of literature or what have you, it's 5 out of 5. Madeline Miller did a fantastic job just writing and telling the story. The prose is stunning. Story-wise, it's like a 3 for me. Mostly because like it is a Greek tragedy, and for me that made it very predictable.
Yeah, well, we know how it ends, right? It's Achilles' story.
Right. And after I finished it, and I kind of, there's the paperback copy I have has this whole kind of explanation of all these things from Madeline Miller, and basically the whole book is just a retelling of various pieces of the Iliad and the Odyssey and several other Greek classics, just told from the perspective of Patroclus had he been there for all of it. And so overall, the book for me is like a solid 3.5, maybe a soft 4, but I think I agree kind of with what Jeff was saying, where it kind of paints a modern day lens on a homosexual relationship. but I don't necessarily agree that that was the shameful part of Achilles and Patroclus' relationship. I think the shameful part of it was the fact that Achilles chose him over everything else, right? Nobody blinked an eye at him and Patroclus having this relationship. What they blinked an eye at was the fact that he didn't have a wife as well, right? That was the shameful part. And it's even evidenced at the end when his son shows up and they're all like, I didn't even know you had a son.
And I didn't think that you could be worse. But here he is.
Yeah, and his son is essentially like, he doesn't think that Patroclus is worth the dirt he walks on. And part of that might be due to the fact that he was raised by his mother and by Thetis, who never liked Patroclus, never thought he was worthy of Achilles in the first place. So there's some, you could call it grooming there, I think. But I just disagree. I think the part where the modern day shameful, or whatever you want to call it, it just comes in for the fact that Achilles was never with a woman in the same way.
Yes, and it's like whatever you want to do on the side.
That's the queer part.
Yeah,
is it's
do what you want to do
as well.
That's okay. You do, like tradition says that states that you need a wife and you need to create heirs.
Yeah.
And continue.
Yeah. So the part that was off was not that he was with a man; it was that he wasn't also with a woman.
Yeah, and there was choice for it, and people would like notice in the war camps where it's like he's only with a guy, like he's not really taking a woman at all. Avery says, I saw a lot of the dislike of Patroclus to come from classism, elitism, more than the fact that he's a man. Yeah, that's what I was kind of saying as well. That's what the problem was. That's what Thetis's problem was. She's like, you're too average for my astounding golden child. Like, he deserves someone better than you. And I don't, let's talk about the prophecy, because I think that's a really big part of this. We know the tale of Achilles. What we got here was Achilles was always gifted. He was always going to be a warrior. He was always like, God blessed in that particular way. And I loved I actually loved walking in Achilles' sandals in a way, knowing that he is like, what would your life be if you were given a prophecy of greatness? How would you, like that saying where it's like, what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? That's Achilles. And it's interesting who he becomes, knowing he could be anyone and it would be acceptable. And that's why I love Achilles, because it's like, he's not bothered by gossip. It's like, it's just beneath him. He's so confident and assured of who he is. He loves Patroclus with his whole heart and more. I just think there was like a few quotes that I loved about Achilles, who just like, and I relate to a little bit of it with like Achilles just speaks truly. He speaks so openly and truly, and he doesn't think that people would lie, because he doesn't lie. And I was like, oh my God, that's how I am. But Patroclus is like always on edge. He's waiting for the other shoe to drop. He's paranoid in a way, like he's been exiled. He's lost everything. So he's always on edge. He always said what he meant. Is it not a sort of genius to always cut to the heart? And I was like, I just loved that line of dialogue. And I love seeing Achilles through Patroclus' eyes as well. I love seeing how Patroclus admires him, what he loves about him. But there's so much to talk about. Is Patroclus a reliable narrator? Do we, knowing that this whole story is from his point of view, do we know much about Patroclus as a person? Because I know everything about Achilles, it feels like, but I sometimes really don't know much about him. It's only through interactions with other people in his life and how the other people speak of him that I learn about Patroclus. But it's like, is he good looking, or is Thetis a bitch? Is he, like, what energy is he bringing? What is his purpose? What is his strength? Like, because it's obviously there if Achilles sees it in him. But I guess my question is, what did you get to learn about Patroclus as the narrator of this book? Who wants that one? Vaden.
Sure. So yeah, I think we learned a ton about Patroclus. Is like he's like he starts out very much kind of timid initially, but he's kind of like he's very defensive. Like these people steal from him, take from him, and then when he fights back the one time, he accidentally kills someone, and that hurts him for a long time. Like he grieves for that. It changes him. He makes him more cautious, but he has a fierceness in him still. Like he's not a pushover necessarily. Like he may have been at times, but like he had times where he's been taking that defensiveness and pushed back really hard. Like he does this with Achilles, he does with other people, but he's not the best at anything usually. Like people see him as weak a lot of times because he's not that aggressive and he's not skilled in the way that they love. Like they thought like, oh, he's not a super warrior or that. Like so, but he does these good things. He's medicine. Like in camp, people love it. When you get to the war camps, people actually end up liking him a lot. He recognizes the men, they recognize him. He forms a communion friendship with them. Like he gets along with super well, Abrisus. I can probably pronounce it Abrisus or Bracis, but
Braceras.
Briseis. And yeah, Briseis, and like it's not like a one-off thing. Like he's very well loved, and it's said like later on in the book. He grows into his body a lot. Like he's like kind of like scrawny and like doesn't look that strong or anything. Like weak, looks kind of like whatever. But later on, he grows into the beard, grows into his body. So like Achilles always saw that potential in him. Other people didn't. So it's just that eventually that we end up everyone else starts seeing it too. So that's for the most part. Thetis doesn't, of course, to the end, but yeah.
We've got a lot more to talk about, but Cheyenne's just come in. And Cheyenne, I've been following your comments in Fable, your review. Number one, are you okay? Do you hate me for this book suggestion?
Yes, I do kind of hate you for this book suggestion, but at the same time, it's been on my TBR for ages. But that destruction, the ending killed me. So I mean, it was.
This is your first
hard.
time. Yeah, it does. Yeah. It does that.
Yeah.
Did you cry?
Rough. Yeah, at the end, yes.
Yeah.
I was fine until the end.
Was it one particular word from Thetis? The sentence?
No, gosh, it was just the end. Like I closed the book and was like devastated. And it's not like I don't know the story of Achilles and Patroclus. Like I know this story. Like I know what happens. I knew what was going to happen. It was all the anticipation of.
It's a tragedy.
Yeah.
Like we are walking into a tragedy. Colleen is saying, to what extent is he living up to the image his father had of him? I want to actually go to Avery's comment. I'm going to read out others as well, though. James says, we know that he is honest. He admitting to killing the kid at the beginning of the book when he could have lied about it. Toasterposter says, Patroclus really evolves during the war and becomes his own person, helping with the wounded, saving women from Agamemnon. Agree. They were there for 10 years. Avery says he's a walking trope of the soft bottom, i.e. the femme, the wife in the relationship. I want to unpack that. I mean, tropes exist for a reason, but what else could Patroclus be when you are with Achilles? That is the dynamic. That is the balance, right? Achilles doesn't need a ferocious warrior to be with. He needs, like, he's got a shocking mother figure, right? So he needs nurture from his partner. He needs that balance because he can get egomaniacal. He can get sort of like caught up with the fact that he is a demigod. So he needs that nurture and that balance and someone to kind of take care of him and also remind him who he is and what's important. I don't have a problem with that at all. In fact, I love examples of feminine men because I think, just like I love examples of masculine women, you know, because I think it's really important to contradict the traditional roles of femininity and masculinity. So I think that that's what's the most beautiful thing about Patroclus is that nurturing and caring, because it is sort of, he's got a really bad mum wound. Like, that is very, it's mummy issues over here. So Patroclus is almost like helping with the mummy issues happening. Darius, your hand was up, and then we'll go back to Tim. That's an uncomfortable take. What do you mean?
So, just in thinking in terms of the characterization of Patroclus, what's running through my mind is that I think the author had Achilles fully formed, and she characterized Patroclus just to be the yin to his yang, like he's the opposite in almost every way. Like Achilles is from Pythia, which is like, a small kind of runty kingdom. Patroclus is a son of an Argonaut, like supposed to be like, this a brave warrior. Achilles has a strong, fierce mother. The author characterizes Patroclus' mom as simple-minded, to the point where the husband is embarrassed of her. Confident, strong, like weak, passive, all that kind of stuff. So I think she characterized Patroclus like working backwards from what she wanted out of Achilles. That's how I saw it.
Tim, you got a hand up?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, this kind of piggybacks on what Darian was just saying, but Patroclus is a very minor secondary character in the Iliad. So when you ask, like, what do we know about him? The truth is probably not much. So Madeline Miller probably had to invent some. I mean, she has a degree in ancient Greek history, so she probably knows more than most. But she probably had to invent some, which does make the book being from his POV very interesting, I think, just because historically there's not a lot of information about him. I just thought that was interesting.
Jeff, you said that that's an uncomfortable take. I'd like to learn more about that.
Honestly, I think Avery just said it better than I can with her comment.
Avery, do you want to take the lead on that then?
Sure. I was just kind of responding to what you were saying earlier. I was like, the issue isn't the concept of feminine men. I fully support feminine men, fully support masculine women. That's great. The issue is this heteronormative concept that for a relationship to work, there has to be a masculine figure and a feminine figure. And this book really takes both of those tropes and makes them to the extreme, to the point that it could almost be argued to be homophobic.
Interesting. Okay, so you think that because Madeline Miller is hetero, she's kind of got a less of a, more of a two-dimensional look on what a gay relationship looks, feels, and sounds like?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense. I think where I stand with it, and I'm going to go back to the movie, and I think Tim kind of touched upon this as well. Patroclus as a character is often sort of discarded. When you look at Troy, the movie, Hollywood said, you know what, Patroclus is actually Achilles' cousin. That's why they hang out all the time. They're cousins. There we go. We're going to put the Hollywood spin on it because we are never, ever going to acknowledge the fact that Achilles could be 1% gay. That is the worst, most offensive thing ever. He is masculine. He is a warrior. He is Achilles. He cannot be gay. So we're going to make Achilles and Briseis the couple, right? For me, having Patroclus in a relationship with Achilles they were roommates, right? Having this love story was the win. Now, is there a lot of room to grow with that and unpacking the heteronormative analysis of writing gay characters? Yeah, and that's why I love these conversations. But I think when you look at sort of where it was and where it's going, I love that growth. Can you explain what could be, knowing all the other books that you've been reading, Avery, what would another acceptable or interesting or different take of the relationship if it doesn't fall into the one has to be masculine, one has to be feminine trope? What's another version of this book that could exist?
I would say a big one would be to have them both show both sides of their personalities, not being like Achilles strictly being a warrior and stuff. Go more into his softer side, his love for music and all of that. Focus more on that. Do a lot more about have him also be interested in medicine. Have him learn the people's names and be want to talk to them and not just be like, oh, all about me, this is about me, you know. And then with Patroclus, have him, you know, show him doing more like of the more quote unquote masculine stuff. Like have them both do
Training
both things.
montages. Yeah.
Yeah, like in different ways, of course, because they're different people, but still like show, don't like, they were kind of stuck, they felt kind of stuck in their boxes, which I know, like, you know, it's a myth, and that's how myths work. But just like, yeah, just have them be less stuck in the boxes that they were put in, and have them actually show that they have multiple sides, and that they can't, that, you know, they're not just what society wants them to be.
I really like that. I really like, I would have actually liked to have seen more conflict between the two. I feel like Patroclus held his tongue a lot when Achilles was in sort of like that very stubborn, very, no, this is, I know right, I know what I'm doing, da-da-da. And Patroclus would like, you know what, when he's like that, I'm just going to let him win. I would have liked to have seen more conflict. I would have liked Patroclus to be like, unacceptable, actually no, and like have that sort of energy combat with Achilles. I will also argue though that Achilles is who he is because he's constantly battling with the fact that he knows he's not human, he knows he's not truly mortal, he is a demigod. So the conflict decrease exists, and the dynamic that exists in place here is because he is a demigod with a prophecy placed upon him, and he's on a different playing field than what Patroclus is. And I think by seeing Patroclus still as an equal, when he sees no other king, prince, anything like that as his equal, that's powerful. That's what I really loved about this. But I love this conversation. Tim, your hand's up too.
Yeah, I don't want to like disagree with what Avery is saying, because I have no lens on any of that. But I would say that they do kind of make a big deal of Achilles outside of being like this perfect physical specimen and the great warrior. Like they go into, at least early in the book, great detail into his ability to play the lyre and his singing and stuff. And that's a large part of why Patroclus fell in love with him in the first place. It's not because he's a great warrior. It's because he played the lyre. He played his mom's lyre, and he had this great singing voice. So they do touch on that sort of, if you want to call it, feminine side of Achilles. I don't think they abandon it completely.
Jeff is also saying, I don't think Achilles views Patroclus as his equal in this book. Achilles demands that Patroclus has a seat next to him at the table instead of
next
off to
him,
the
not
side.
near him.
Achilles demands that Patroclus is in the same tent, not off somewhere else. Maybe this is again a classism thing, that like Achilles is a demigod and Patroclus is an exiled prince. But the way that Achilles keeps fighting for Patroclus to be by his side, that's
dominating. Like he's the active participant in the relationship, right? Like Achilles is the one with the agency. How much agency does Patroclus have in any of those things outside of Achilles? Yeah, and Achilles knows this, and he doesn't do anything to address that. He just kind of says, oh, I need him sitting next to me. And that's like, whatever, sure, that's great, I guess, and supportive and whatever, but that's not viewing someone as an equal, I don't think.
We're also from Patroclus's point of view, so we don't know what Achilles is saying outside of Patroclus's, area. But we do know that over the time at the camp, yes, Achilles definitely changes. He loses his femininity. He loses his softness. He becomes more aggressive. The prophecy takes a front seat. The war is consuming. But, oh my God, what's his bloody name? Odysseus. Odysseus fights for the ashes. Odysseus doesn't need to do that at all because it's posthumous, right? Like, Patroclus is already dead. Odysseus could be like, cool, you know what, whatever. But in death fights for Patroclus' legacy. So that doesn't happen without Achilles sort of like, you're right, and it is Achilles with all the agency, but he's using his status, he's using his power to bring Patroclus at his level to be in the same tomb together, which is, you know, which you talk to Pyrrhus, is just absolutely unacceptable. But Odysseus is fighting for that. Darius, you've got your hand up, but James, you also had your hand up too, and we haven't heard from you. So if you've got thoughts on this one, I'll pass it over to you, and then we can go to Darius. You got thoughts?
All right. I was just gonna say.
Sorry, we haven't heard from James yet, so I'll go James, and then we'll go Darius. Sorry, bud.
I think Vaden corrected me in chat. I thought that at one point Achilles had said that no man's life is more valuable than any other, but I guess that was Chiron. I could be wrong.
Chiron was trying to teach them that no man's life, and challenge him. And Chiron's parting words to Achilles was like, why do you fight? And challenging the why. And I think Achilles has been trained by his mother that like what his purpose is. And it's like, don't ask questions. You are a warrior. You are a weapon. If you need to do it, go do it. And so I think Chiron was just like, I would ask more questions around it. Like, you've just been kind of cranked up by your mum and then set out in the world. Darius, I want to talk about the Chiron chapters though, because they're some of my favorites. Darius, what were you going to say?
So it was just going to build on something Tim said, and it's actually building on something you just said. So Tim was mentioning how Patroclus like saw Achilles playing his mom's lyre and stuff, and I think you just said it as well, where basically everybody only sees the usefulness of Achilles as a living weapon. Patroclus was the only person really who saw beyond that, and I think that's the only reason, that could be like the main reason Achilles actually acknowledged him and, you know, chose him, because like he was the only person who, you know, like saw him beyond that. And I
think everyone's, you know, most obvious take of who Achilles is the spiral, right? It's the pride, it's the ego, it's when Achilles kind of like opts out of war and lets everyone die around him. Like, that's how people would see Achilles and Stained. And it's Patroclus who's like, no, this isn't you. You're losing yourself. Like, come back to me. And that's where the tragedy is, because it's like you see this fight between Agamemnon and Achilles, and it's just like neither will bow. And it's so sad. And it goes beyond it, where it's like, this is actually bigger than you two now. This is bigger than you two. That breaks my heart. Vaden says, in the end, Patroclus uses his agency to betray Achilles by going to Agamemnon to save Briseis. Also, when Patroclus convinces Achilles so that the former can wear his armor into battle. Yeah, I disagree that Patroclus never gets his own agency. I think that he absolutely... Jeff wants this to be a centaur anatomy class. Talk to fucking Matt Dinnerman, because he's got centaurs of every single variety known to man. Horizontal, vertical, women, you name it. But yeah, no, I think the Mantors, yes. I will say that when it comes to Patroclus gaining agency, yeah, I disagree with you, Jeff. I really do think that he comes into his own big time. And I think it's beautiful when we do, because I feel like you're right. Patroclus has been in Achilles' shadow the entire time. I feel like he's the lost little puppy that was rescued by Achilles. And then more and more you're like, oh my God. Yeah, we always knew why Achilles was important, because he is a weapon. He's just unfathomable. This guy is so sort of like blessed by the gods. He can just pick a spear up and aim true. We start to discover Patroclus' strength. We start learning why Achilles fell in love with him so completely and fully in this moment. I got asked on TikTok, will you be in San Diego with Matt? Maybe. Gaia says the first half is about Achilles and the second half is about Patroclus. That's how I read it. Yeah, I would agree with that. Jeff said, I never said he didn't gain some agency by the end. The relationship dynamic just doesn't express it at all for me. Got it. Vaden says it does take a long time for Patroclus to develop, and their relationship is pretty smooth until the stress of the war pushes them. Yeah, there's like beautiful things in their language where it's like they're having uncomfortable conversations. Like Achilles has a kid. Achilles slept with a woman twice. But Patroclus will say, Achilles and I don't lie to each other no matter how painful it is. And it's like we've just kind of developed this rule where it's like we say all the truth and we accept that. And it doesn't turn into this spiraling rage or fights or screaming matches. It's just like, you know, there's such vulnerability there. It's Achilles being like, I didn't even like it. I thought of you the whole time. It's just something, you know, it's my mother. So let's segue into that before we move on, if anyone has any thoughts or comments for that. Avery says they all but break up for Patroclus to become his own person outside of Achilles. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I was just gonna build again on what you were saying. Like, remember when I said like, Patroclus was kind of like developed as like the antithesis of Achilles. So like Patroclus gains agency during the war, like becoming a field medic and stuff. At the same time, Achilles is losing agency just because he is being sent into battle every day. So that's part of that yin and yang between them.
Yeah, I agree. Avery, I'm so interested to learn, is this, because this, when you first read this and it was a 5 out of 5, did these things weren't apparent at all, right? I feel like you've read a completely different book now that you've had a completely different lens and like a depth of knowledge behind it now.
Yeah. When I first read it, I was just like, beautiful story. It's sad. You know, that was basically my criteria for a 5 out of 5. That was like, you know, several years ago. So I was like, this is great. But then, like I said, since then, I've like really, you know, read a lot more, studied a lot more, talked to a lot of different people, also grown in my own identity and understanding of some of these things from my own personal experience. And so now coming back to it with that knowledge and with those experiences of my own, that's where I'm starting to see, oh, wait, there's some issues here.
Yeah, and I even if I disagree with them because I'm still you in your first read, it feels like, even though it's my second read for me, I haven't absolutely like gone. My freaking year 9 English teacher used to say saturation genre, and that is when you're making or creating in that field, in that genre, you must saturate yourself in that genre to learn all about it. And I feel like, and I can't stand it because I remember she used to say it all the time, and I was like, Mrs. Milne, I will never ever say saturation genre as long as I live. So you can say it 50,000 times. Anyway, it fucking worked. I say it all the time because now I absolutely get it. So Avery, you have saturated in the genre. And so I feel like there is every chance, should I read in that genre as much as you have, I will be completely aligned with your views on this. And because of that, I absolutely want to honor and listen to it because, you know, you are right. You are right. So yeah, I just want to really encourage you and hope that you feel, and same with you, Jeff. I, feel that you can have these opinions and just know that I'm just a little bit behind. I'm still in the, I just love this love. It's a tragedy and it's ripping my heart out. I feel like I'm a bit like Tim as well in KP. You're just like, look, the story's great. The story's there, but it's the writing that is the sell. It's the writing that is giving the score higher for you. So I guess let's break this down. Writing, plot, characters, where do you believe the strengths are? Because I absolutely love the writing. I love how she writes. I love how poetic and flourishing and just, I absolutely dig it. Jeff, you think that it's really boring. What was the other word that you used? Pandering? What is that?
Pedestrian.
Pedestrian.
Yeah.
That was good.
Where do you think the strength lies? And it's like interesting to hear that Avery is saying, you know what, thematically, with a queer lens, that this kind of falls a little bit short. It's a little bit tropey. It's not as advanced. So everyone, where are we thinking the strength lies? Is it the writing? Is it the characters? Is it the plot? Is there a standout? James and Catch are saying the writing. Cheyenne says it's the writing first, then the characters, then the plot for me. I think I'm exactly the same, Cheyenne. It's the writing and then it's the characters and then it's the plot. I mean, I want to read Madeline Miller write about just them in conversation, learning about each other and admiring each other. Like, I would be happy for years just reading that. James, what's your order?
Oh, I was just wondering because everyone seems to be lowering their score
Yeah.
with
not
the
me.
second read.
Still a 6.
Because since we read Song of Achilles, we read Circe, where you can really see Madeline Miller really improve. I was just wondering with everyone if that affected it, knowing how much of the storytelling improves when she gets to Circe. If
you
that
go.
affects
Great
looking back
question.
on Achilles.
Great question. I'm just going to read out some of the comments while we think about that. Toaster Poster says, same, it's the writing and then the characters and then the plot. Berkey said, the story idea is great and interesting. It just wasn't done justice by the writing. Catch says, I can forgive the tropes a bit because it's a retelling of a classic Greek literature, so it's coming from where the tropes were invented. Jeff said, this is my first read. KP says, for me, 80 to 90% of all book scores for me will be the character, did the character or story grab me? The writing or mechanics of the writing are very secondary to me. Right. Gaia just says, well, now I need to read Circe. So if you want to talk about having a lens over words, I've had this conversation before. Circe is a really difficult read for me because I don't need another reminder about why and how it's shit to be a woman in any era. So Circe for me is a really, really difficult read. And I'm sure that there are men who are like, oh my God, I loved it. I love the story. I love the writing. I thought it was great. And I'm like, because you haven't had that lived experience of sort of like the whatever oppression that you face just simply by being a woman and existing. And Circe is really, really difficult for me. Like I always go back to Song of Achilles because I guess because I am so separate from it. I'm not a gay man. I'm the furthest thing away from a gay man. Except I also kiss men. We got that in common. But it's like, I can't relate to those things. So when I'm being told that story, I'm not armed with like, well, wait a second, that's not really, or I've not experienced that, or I'm not sure if that's I just don't have enough there. And so I get to be a spectator and just like have it sort of wash over me in that way. Whereas, so, there you go, Vanessa said I could barely finish Circe because it was so depressing. Circe is really, really difficult for me. She doesn't do anything. And they're like, fuck you, Circe. We're going to punish you and we're going to make it completely, the punishment completely outweighs the crime. Why? Because you're a woman. And we're going to forget about you because we don't really like women. Or also, we're just going to have men show up at your island and just, obviously, well, you're a woman, so they're going to do things to you. But whatever. I'm reading this like, oh my God. Like, this is horrible. It's always that question where guys will be like, if you could go back to any place in time, when would you? Oh, because I think I would go here or here or here. And I'm like, as a woman, none of them. You go back, it's not good. You go back, it's not good. You go further back, it's worse. Sometimes it gets a little bit better, and then when they burnt us at the stake, you know what I mean? So it's just like, ooh. Gaia just says this review makes me want to read it more. I mean, yeah, the artistry of female rage, absolutely. But if I have female rage just opening up my phone, I don't need it from a book too. But this is it. This is what this whole lived experience, we all read the same words, but we hear a different story. This is exactly what this is harnessing, right? Colleen says, I'm reading the Odyssey right now and it's so repetitive and tropey. Catch says, if you'd read it when it was first written by Homer, I bet you wouldn't say that. Lol. Was that a joke about it then being translated by a woman?
No, Homer wrote the Odyssey, and parts of Song of Achilles are parts of the Odyssey.
Yes.
Like, this book is ripped straight out of the Odyssey and straight out of the Iliad and several other Greek classics, which is why I said, like, I forgive the tropes, because it comes from where the tropes were invented.
Yeah.
So the joke was, if Colleen had read it when Homer first wrote it, she wouldn't be complaining about the tropes, because they wouldn't be tropes.
Yeah.
And that's not a dig at your age either, Colleen.
Jeff says, I keep trying to figure out the point of this book. Well, the point of it is that it's a retelling of a Greek tragedy. That's the point. It's a retelling.
I don't think so.
What do you think the point
yes, it is. But the point of Greek myths and Greek tragedies and so on was to teach a lesson. Like, that was the whole idea. It was like a morality sort of, like, the story of Achilles is all about pride, and it's all about
pride.
Like hubris, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
This book, like, I don't know, like that sort of thread is still there, but that's not the meaning of the book. Like it's not like the overarching sort of point of the book, and so it loses the core value or moral message of the original story to some extent, and then it substitutes in this like really as Avery said earlier, this really heteronormative like queer relationship to put, I don't know, some other spin on it. I don't get it. Like it doesn't subvert anything. It doesn't challenge any social norms. It doesn't like do anything but retell the story in a slightly different way and subtract some of the point of it.
I feel like Greek tragedies definitely existed for a reason. The takeaway that I had for this was sort of like, you know, the first half is so wonderful and lovely, and then the snowballing, the spiraling, and it's like none of it had to happen, but the tragedy always is, you know, when the things are placed and you can't undo it and it's just too late, and that feeling of sort of helplessness and like it didn't need to be this way, but it is this way. If you ask Gaia, it says the meaning is don't trust your goddess homophobic mum. I think that's a really good lesson to take away here. I do think it is still pride and hubris, though, as the story. And I think the tragedy is that they had successfully navigated to this point in a loving, unconditional relationship. But this prophecy comes into play, and this is when Achilles switches. Would you rather live a long, uneventful life, or do you want to leave with fame and legacy and have your life cut short? And without hesitation, Achilles chooses fame, glory, at the cost of a life, knowing that he has an incredibly beautiful, powerful relationship. And that's the tragedy, right? And so I kind of was looking at stemming where this came from, and it's it's legacy, being a demigod, prophecy. Do you have to be the thing that you're told that you are? And having, like, honestly, really bad mummy issues. I think that the mother was terrible for Achilles, and she had her own agenda. And the second she could stop molding him and that he made decisions that didn't fall in line with what she was wanting out of it, she discards him and then tries again. A lot of hands up. Colleen, we haven't heard from you yet, though, so I'd love to hear from you.
Well, I think the way I saw it was that they were both absolute products of what their parents thought of them. That I felt like Patroclus, it took him clear until, nearly the end of the Battle of Troy before he really began to see himself as anything more than his father's cast-off. I mean, he tried to break away when he changed his name, and then we have Achilles, who has been told since before birth that he was to be a weapon and the greatest of all Greeks. So I kind of felt that they were just absolute products of the expectations that were had for them.
Mm-hmm. And it was always really interesting to see Achilles' fight between Patroclus and his mum. You know, the mum from day one, I don't like him. And he's like, I don't care. He's mine. And that acceptance, like that, even though his mother doesn't like him, it doesn't matter. But he would always go back to his mum to seek guidance, to, get her thoughts. So that was like this almost triangulation that was happening. Who do you go to? Because Patroclus didn't like his mum and his mum didn't like Patroclus, but he was trying to actively choose both of them. We had more hands up. Who's got more thoughts about this? Cheyenne, you wrote a great comment saying, I think the purpose of this book was written to be accessible to younger audiences, quite honestly. I know of plenty of people that use this as a segue into mythology. A lot of mummy puns are happening. Yes, love.
Yeah, so that was my main kind of takeaway from, this book. I think it was written to be very accessible. And with that in mind, isn't she a professor? I mean, I feel like that's, probably a big thing for her is to, get people into, like, oh, you want to be interested, and kind of just reel people in and be like, hey, I do want to learn, the basics of it.
Yes.
All and get into it, because that is what I hear a lot of. A lot of people read this and then do wind up reading, the Odyssey, the Iliad, like when they had in school. Right. I know that I had in school, and now I want to reread them because I haven't read them in such a long time that I'm like, okay, yeah. And I mean, like, I've always been big into mythology. I love Hades, the game, and there's plenty of games that I've played that have mythology aspects in them, whether it's Greek or Roman or whatever mythology it might be. I think, especially, like, I would consider it, a YA in a way that's maybe, I mean, of course it has violence and, darker themes and stuff like that. But I think, I could see it being read in a high school to help, as like, a piece to help understand pieces of it, because even just like reading Shakespeare can be such a slog.
Yes.
For kids, and it just feels like it could be one of those pieces to help
the stepping stone
in that way.
I love
exactly
that. Gaia says on the back of the book it says specializing in adapting classical tales to a modern audience. So yeah, I like that. Whose hand did I see up? Vaden?
Yeah, I just want to mention about the themes and the story of the book, point of the book. Like, one of the things they talk about a lot is, and it's, they explain in the beginning, is like, there's a conversation between Patroclus and Achilles where they say basically like, hey, I'm going to be famous and all that, but they never let you become famous and happy. That's an important thing. Yes. And what happens, of course, story, he says, he knows he's going to be famous. He knows that for sure. But Patroclus is like, do you swear you're going to be happy too? Are you sure it's going to be the same? You have both. He's like, yeah, I'm going to be the first to be both. And of course, that's his arrogance, hubris, coming to play again. Yes. Yep. And of course, he fails that because the gods don't want him to be happy. The gods have destined him to be famous, but not happy. And they take him away.
I mean, we've spoken about this before. Like, when you do fantasy world building, what role do gods play? Are they in human form? Are they present, omnipresent? Are they just, never seen, but it's more of a mythology, or it's more of a story, or it's more of a faith-built sort of thing with gods? I kind of loved it here that one fucking shows up and it's like, no. And they're like, he had a fight with a god, the river god. That is so cool. I love stuff like that. Put your money where your mouth is. And this god's like, okay, I want to get Hector swimming off. And he comes from Troy, and they sacrifice all the time and pour wine into the rivers. And so I've got bros back, and I'm tapping into this fight. And then knowing that Achilles psychs him out using human flaw to trick the god and actually slashes a god. The problem is, again, it's giving words of radiance and for my boon. It is the same energy of Kaladin being not a radiant, whatever they're, what are they called? Knights of Radiant, and having still been a slave, but then fights alongside Adolin to help him, and then wants to claim his boon, and everyone's like, "Oh no, dude, you pushed it too far." It's the inverse of that, where Achilles is a demigod, and now he's trying to take on the gods and be like, no, I'm going to fight you. And you're like, oh, no, that's not, you know your place. Ooh. And so we have sort of like this, it's like, dude, read the room. Like, you're too far into this, your pride and your anger and everything is consuming you, and we can see it, but you can't see it. And that's a part of the tragedy as well. But just invoking those feelings, I loved it. I love it. But yeah, the second half of the book, it's just chaos, and it's inevitability and not being able to do a damn thing about it. A couple of things I want to talk about, and I'm just going to say these out so that when I inevitably forget, we can come back to it. I want to talk about the ending of this book. I want to talk about Odysseus as a character. I want to talk about, I still want to go about the prophecy and his mother, and the impact on that, because she tries again and it actually is worse. So what is she doing wrong? which was a better product? How could it? Yeah, how do you find that balance? So, the end of the book, upon this listen, I really didn't care for the fight the god part. I read it the exact opposite to others, I guess. Isn't that fascinating? I loved it. And you were just like, okay, let's move on. Who cares? Blah, blah, blah. Now he's shown up. Ugh. It's just another obstacle.
Well, no. If I can clear up for one moment, I think my problem with it was that it was rage, right? It was rage and revenge, and that's why he did it. It wasn't pride. It wasn't even like, I'm so powerful that I'm going to fight a god. It was just like, I'm going to fight whoever the heck is in front of me before I can get to Hector. Like, and
yes, I've got
it wasn't,
nothing left
I don't think there was.
Yes. It was
so
consuming. I agree with you completely. It was consuming.
Again, and it lost the point of like the hubris. It lost the whole like this is the warning, right? Like I guess we're also now warning against rage or anger or excessive attachment. I don't know, but yeah, no, I read that completely opposite. I did not care for that.
But that's the part of the tragedy, right? That every step of the way he should have snapped out of it. Every step of the way he shouldn't have been so consumed. But like this is a man whose entire legacy he thought was one thing, and then he never ever predicted that with this prophecy that his partner could die, because it was never about his partner. It was always about him. So him being consumed by vengeance and rage and adopting a new identity that he hadn't sort of predicted or thought about. I mean, that is a part of the tragedy, but it's not something that I didn't like. It's just like, oh God, it's like he's just not getting it. I think for me though, like the ending of the book, and when I say the ending of the book, the battle between Hector was over in a sentence. The last part of the book, Patroclus was dead. We are still getting his POV because he's like an untethered soul, and his Pyrrhus was truly one of the worst. One of my main feelings I have about the ending is, screw you, Pyrrhus. Yeah, I agree with that. What are you having a giggle about, Vaden?
Oh, just how terrible her. Sorry, before that, you're talking about how Patroclus becomes the heir, and we start hearing his thoughts, and like he's talking to people that can't hear him. So he's just like kind of like if it's Aaron thought I can't do anything until the only person who can talk to eventually is Thetis, and who comes to the grave of Achilles, and then that's where they bond.
But there was like such a, like the last thing that Thetis ever says to Achilles is, I'm glad he's dead. Like the speed and ferocity in which Achilles throws those spears is what I receive reading the end of this book. It's just one spear straight to the heart after another. It's Hector fucking circling my innards like a super spoon. Like that's how it feels reading the book for me. I loved the audiobook as well. I thought the audiobook was just superior. I absolutely loved it. But the Battle of Hector was over really quickly. And it's like as soon as Patroclus goes, things move so fast. Like this was all coming to a head. The whole prophecy that we've kind of learnt upon as soon as the Battle of Troy comes into it is once Hector dies, then Achilles will fall. And so the whole point of Patroclus is like, don't kill Hector, because if Hector goes, and that's only a matter of time. And then, of course, when it comes down to that battle, it's just immediately over. And is this because it's Patroclus' point of view and he doesn't want to harbor on and he doesn't want to give us the play-by-play? He just wants to give us the results? The end of it moves very, very quickly. And I don't know if I noticed it as much my first read, and I definitely noticed the speed of like it wrapping up in this read through. Tim, and then Darius.
I was going to say it's very interesting to me, and this is part of kind of why I found it, apart from the fact that it's a Greek tragedy and we kind of know how it ends, but part of the reason I found it so predictable was throughout the second half of the book, or I guess you could call it the middle third of the book, when Achilles learns that Hector has to die before Achilles will die. And then they realize that the only person capable of killing Hector is Achilles. And he says repeatedly, he's like, why would I kill Hector? He's done nothing to me. Right up until the point that Hector kills Patroclus, and now Hector has done something to Achilles. And
he's done the worst thing he could have done. Yes.
Yeah, it's very like kind of hat on hat, I guess, where it's like, yeah, obviously that's what has to happen. Hector has to wrong Achilles somehow for the prophecy to be fulfilled.
But if you were reading the Stormlight
It's just-
Archives, I would say to you, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. So, you know, we know how this story ends because it's a really common mythology. Like Achilles' heel, we know what's going on. They didn't even talk about the heel. There was no heel.
That's because the heel was a myth that was added later.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Because he turns around. He just turns
Achilles' heel
around and
was
is
a myth
exposed. And then Paris is
added
like,
later.
maybe you be. But yeah, it's a long journey. But that's the thing. Like, it is the journey. It's how it's told, not what the story is, I suppose. Jay Bunrock, I'm exactly the same. Eric Banner is Hector to me. Completely and always. Achilles wasn't even Brad Pitt in my head for this. Achilles is Disney's Hercules. That is who Achilles was the whole time. The animated Hercules was Achilles for me. It's that butt chin. It was the blah, blah, it was that, all of that. Patroclus, I actually couldn't fucking picture. And that's why I was like, did we get enough? Like, sometimes we got descriptions. His chest was broadening. And I'm like, he's got darker hair and he's got dark eyes. But like, who did people picture with Patroclus? Who is this guy? Make him tangible
well,
for
I
me.
played Hades, so I had the Patroclus from Hades in my head the
Let
whole
me
time.
look that up real quick.
I'll pull a photo. I'll put it in show chat.
Also, what really fucks with me is that I'm so sure in high school when we were studying Greek mythology, we called him Patroclus. And so Patroclus is like new for me. I swear it was Patroclus. And it was Achilles. Kidding. No, it wasn't. That's too far. That's too far. Can you come back? Thank you. Oh, he's hot. Sorry. Yeah, he's
I mean,
hot.
that helps.
I get it. I get it. Oh, he's like night and day. I like. That's the thing. I think that we have this incredible balance, which is not to say that it's the right thing to do, but, you know, Patroclus has very dark skin, dark hair, and dark eyes, whereas Achilles is golden and, you know, blonde and blue eyes, and it's just like they are complete opposites that make the perfect whole. Yeah, he's hot. I dig it. That's not what I pictured at all for Patroclus, though. Ah, they're smooching. You know how we feel about smooches around here, guys. We say, let them smooch. Ugh. And I'm going to show you the fan art that I just found. I might put it there. Ugh, look at that.
I'm surprised we don't have a, what's called for that, a source on board.
Huh?
I'm just surprised we don't have an audio clip of that, like the soundboard for like
Let them smooch.
Yeah, we don't have one at all.
Because Seb hasn't created it yet.
That's beautiful fan art. You get to reunite them in the game. Oh. Gaia says get the new soundbite. Oh, he's hot. In the audiobook, Patroclus is pronounced Can you say it?
So it's a little strange, actually. It's a little different, actually. So that's the audiobook. They say Patroclus, so like Culus. It just says Patroclus.
I'm saying please. Patroclus.
Patroclus,
There
yeah.
you go.
Like, there's like an extra vowel. I don't know why between the C and E and L. It says that that's how you pronounce it. I don't know if it's normal or not.
That
I
looks
really
it's
liked
Patroclus.
Patroclus. Yeah. Patroclus,
Plus,
I think is what I used to
It's
say.
a U.
And Mycenaean.
Yeah.
Mycenaean was another one that we would say. We also say Oedipus, so like going down that road again. Oh, you pictured Charlie and Nick from Heartstoppers. That's really cute as well. I kept picturing the guys from Heated Rivalry. Oh, okay. Okay, now I'm seeing the trope. Oh, this is really interesting. Gay couples in pop culture. Blonde-haired, blue-eyed, dark-haired, dark eyes. Is the blonde guy always the top? And the darker head always the bottom? Okay, Avery, I see tropes now. I'm seeing the similarities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're very prevalent once you start to notice them.
The patterns are forming. Yeah. You're like, oh, another time when it's this. I guess the equivalent that I'm used to is just every fucking male love interest in all of the romantasy books had sparkling blue eyes and dark hair. And I'm like, because I noticed that because that's my type. So every now and then it's like a blonde person and you're like, my brother's blonde, my dad's blonde. I don't but Cassius. Oh, that's uncomfortable.
Aelin blonde too.
Aelin's blonde. Aelin Galathinius.
The blonde thing is why we said golden retriever.
Yeah, usually that's not my type at all. Lisa literally has a picture of my ex. He's not close to being blonde. I still have to send you, Lisa, the picture where it looks like the fan art. It's wild. It's really strange. Let's talk about Odysseus. Odysseus is a really interesting character. Oh, gosh, the voice acting was so good, by the way. Can I just say the way that the voice actor brought Achilles' voice to life with this, like, assuredness hero? Loved. You have Odysseus and you have Agamemnon on the same side, yet they are very, very different. Do you respect Odysseus or do you realize he's just better at the game? Let's unpack him as a character, knowing all about his mythology as well. We've got the same two hands going up. I do want to open it up to people that we haven't heard as much from yet. So Robin or Lisa or Colleen, Vanessa, Darren, if you've got any thought. I don't want to talk, says KP. Good. Avery says, I read the Odysseys. I know he's slimy. I thought the voice for Achilles in the audiobook was Gastonish. Yeah, it's perfect. It's perfect. He drinks 6 dozen eggs. Okay. Okay, cool. That's why. As long as everyone feels like they're able to participate in the convo. All right. The latter in general, Odysseus is too dishonest for me, but he definitely knows how to play the game. Let's talk about Odysseus. So Darius, Tim, you had your hands up. Darius, we'll start with you. Tim, we'll move to you.
Well, I have a bias because Odysseus is one of my favorite characters of all time. He is clever. That's the thing. He is too clever for his own good sometimes, but the thing is, he never wanted to be in the Trojan War, but the fact that he is there, he had to abide by the oath.
Yeah.
He has no choice but to do his best. That's the way it is for me. He's going to be sneaky about it because he just wants to get this war done.
Yeah, he's doing a great job with that. 12 years. Was it 12 years all up, or did it stop at 10?
It's a 10-year war.
10 years.
Yeah. But, I mean, he tried, you know.
He tried.
But yeah.
Tim?
So I mean, I have my bias. So
you have your bias. I get that. I mean, I respect the man.
I was just gonna say,
I respect him way more than Agamemnon. I would rather follow Odysseus than Agamemnon. Tim?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agamemnon, that name tripped me up so many times, not because of the pronouncing, just because of the meaning. But Odysseus, like the whole time I was reading this, I kept getting this feeling that he was just playing both sides against the middle. Like, it always felt like he was hedging his bets one way or the other with every decision he made, even though he's kind of a secondary character in this. That's kind of how it felt to me, which made him interesting, especially in the end when he kind of sides with Achilles more. But I think he also realized that what Agamemnon had done was completely
wrong,
out of line.
Yep, but knew that Agamemnon was never going to change his mind, and the lesser of two evils was getting Achilles to fall in line, because Agamemnon was never going to do it. And then the fact that Achilles also wouldn't do it was the beginning of the end. And then once they lasted long enough, it just stopped. And even Agamemnon was like, wow, that was put by, we were pretty shitty for a year there, weren't we? But we can put that behind us now. And it's like, are you kidding? Yeah. And I feel like that was the first time where Achilles didn't get unwavering support. There was silence when Achilles called out Agamemnon's behavior. And that was like, oh, they might not actually follow me. And Odysseus is observing the ever-loving shit out of all of this. He's clocking every part of it. But he's the one playing the chess game. And Agamemnon's on the board, Achilles is on the board, and Odysseus is playing. Like, that's how I kind of see it.
He was hedging everything.
100%. Gaia says, I just need to put it out there that I laughed out loud at Odysseus telling Pyrrhus, who knows? Perhaps one day even I will be famous. Perhaps more famous than you. Same. I was like, suck a dick, Pyrrhus. You knob. Cheyenne, you got any thoughts on Odysseus being brought to life in this book? No.
Not really. I mean, he's Odysseus. There's not much else to say. I mean, what else can you do with him as a character?
I think Diomedes was the one who was just like shoehorned in a little bit. Even Odysseus realized that like he would then just advise Diomedes. And so as long as it's very Game of Thrones when you think about it. Odysseus is Littlefinger, right? Even though in my head, Odysseus, Ned Stark, Sean Bean. Odysseus is Sean Bean. How is he not, guys? How is Odysseus not Sean Bean? He was Sean Bean when I read Cersei. Odysseus is Sean Bean. Is he Sean Bean in the movie? Is that where I'm getting it from?
Check the show chat.
Oh, no. Okay, great. He is. My brain just like whoosh, will snipe onto things. Like my conscious has forgotten. My subconscious is like, nope, we gotcha. We got it. He's Odysseus in Troy. Got it. Did anyone feel inclined? And Paris is Orlando Bloom, and Helen was Diane Kruger. Like those characters remain. Hector was absolutely Eric Bana, but yeah, Achilles was not Brad Pitt, not once. Even and actually, Briseis wasn't Rose Byrne either. Briseis was kind of covered up for me. She had like much darker skin and dark eyes. Rose Byrne is very white. I actually thought about that. I'm like, why is Eric Bana and did they shoot in Sydney? Because they got Eric and Rose Byrne who were Aussies. And around that time, Rose Byrne was in Star Wars, the prequels, because they shot in Sydney. So hearing a lot of white people in that cast, exactly. They're Greek, so we'll hire all white people. It's like, well, one of the few roles he did not die playing. That's so funny. Thetis, how did you visualize Thetis, Achilles' mother, the water nymph? Why was she the ring to anyone else? Just me? Every time she surfaced, she's like had the hair all over her face and she's like, nah. And I think that had a lot to do with the audiobook narrator making sure that she sounds like this the entire time. I'm like, yeah, that bitch just crawled out of the toilet, out of the TV screen. Like, they needed to flush more.
Thetis to me the whole time was I saw somebody did artwork of like fairy tales, but like very dark versions of them, like this very grim. There was an image of like this very grim, dark, kind of evil Ariel from The Little Mermaid. And for whatever reason, that locked in for Thetis for me. But she was like the only character that I actually had like an image of in the whole book.
Hold on, which one? Ursula? Or when she's in her girl form?
No. It was literally like a picture of Ariel, but it was if Ariel was like the darkest character possible.
Okay. Yeah, listening to the book, there was nothing pretty about Thetis for sure.
Yeah.
So Thetis obviously just wanted. She's a show mum. Yeah, she's a mummager. We know this, right? I don't think that's an out of pocket thing to say. Thetis wants her son to be a megastar and is willing to sacrifice his childhood and manipulate and coerce him and control him so that he does exactly what she wants out of him. So tries to honestly remove his agency to be this weapon so he can get this fame. And then she can have fame from that because she's the mum. At what point, like, let's talk about Achilles' relationship with his mum. When do you think that it changes? Because Achilles had a few mentors. His dad was kind of one of them. Mum's been one of them. Chiron was one of them. And I wonder if Thetis regrets sending Achilles to Chiron because he wasn't savage. He didn't make Achilles brutal. He made Achilles more philosophical. he made him a little bit more well-rounded. He accepted the relationship and didn't squash it out, even though Thetis was like, make sure they're not together. Thoughts? Oh, okay, that makes a little bit more sense, Couch, in the show chat. Yeah, honestly, Cheyenne, that is Thetis to me. Another thing that I wanted to know is, do you think Thetis knew the prophecy and knew details? It wasn't just that once Hector falls, then Achilles will fall. Do you think that the prophecy that Thetis got was instead, the man that your son is with will be killed and then you will lose Achilles forever? That will be the end of Achilles, not necessarily his life, but the end of your son as we know him, because once his lover dies, partner dies, that's it. And that's why she kept trying to break them up, and that's why she tried to remove Patroclus from the picture. Patroclus from the picture. Darian.
I'm not quite sure. I think because she said that the gods told her just like vague things about the prophecy, and she's kind of inferring, but it's just tying back to one thing Jeff said earlier about the purpose of Greek myths. One of the things they teach in Greek myth is that the harder you fight to get away from prophecy and fate, that puts you directly in the line of what's destined for you.
Yes.
And that definitely would tie into this. Like, if she tried actively to separate them and made that bond closer, that would have precipitated Patroclus fighting in his armor and dying. So it's just that entire thing of the more you avoid it, the stronger it's coming to hit you.
Yes, and that's the thing. Like, it's futile. She was trying to hide Achilles and, have him as a woman. It didn't matter. Like, Odysseus was going to find him no matter what. Yeah. Like, she tried. You're exactly right. She tried to sidestep it the whole time. But then, at what point do you just surrender? I just realized that the TikTok chat's been on there. Wendy, if you're still there, a big hello. Sean, hello, and Alicia, hello, love. Alicia says, but what did Helen of Troy look like? We don't even know in this book. It's not even important. KP said I had been dealing with a headache. Oh, we cured your headache? Hey, or did you just drink some water?
I've had tons of water today, so that wasn't the issue.
I'm so glad we cured it for you. Toaster Post says, yes, I thought that. This is about Thetis knowing the entire prophecy, maybe from a different angle. Because of the way that she would glare at Patroclus. Part of me wonders, though, that if she did know that she would have told Achilles that and made it his problem. Now that you know that that this relationship will break you, is it worth it? Because we know that if Achilles is given an ultimatum between fame and anything else, he chooses that glory. He chooses fame. He chooses the life of substance, Cheyenne said she could have told him. We don't know because it's Patroclus's point of view. Well said. Tim.
I was just going to say the thing about prophecy is that it's subject to interpretation. A perfect example of that is Anakin Skywalker and the prophecy that he will bring balance to the Force. The Jedi thought that meant he was going to destroy the Sith. What it actually ended up being is he's going to be one of two Sith alive with two Jedi, which is balance. So, Thetis could have heard the prophecy and interpreted any number of a million ways. There's no way to know how that prophecy will be fulfilled, just that it will, right? So that's all I was really going to say.
We've got 30 minutes, so I'm going to, because I've not even, I love a book when I don't even reference all my notes that I've put in here. Let's talk about some discussion questions, and we can go through these. Pickle, first-time chatter, says, have you read Percy Jackson and the Only Peons? You mean these ones? Oh, you mean these? I read them. I sure have read them. They've been on our maybe TBR when we're looking for a bonus book. If we're like, you know, doing the mythology thing. They are very, very easy reads though. It's not, that's the thing I worry about where it's like, can we have a 2-hour discussion on the books without being like, that was fun. KP Dub says, prophecies always make sense after the fact. Tim, you're exactly right. How you interpret a prophecy might not be it at all. Rocco says, given this discussion, I could definitely see that. And that was Patroclus being a very unreliable narrator. Guy says, Lupita Nyong'o is going to play Helen in the new Odyssey, and I feel like that's the best casting I've ever heard in a film. I saw a video saying that, speaking of Percy, it's Pacey from Dawson's Creek. His name is Joshua Jackson. He has now dated both of Helen of Troy's. He married and had a kid, I think, with Diane Kruger, and then he also dated Lupita Nyong'o for a little bit. So this guy has a type, and that is the most beautiful woman on the planet. Good on him. I think that's
he's
really
Paris, obviously. He is Paris Jackson.
He is Paris. He's Paris, yeah. That's really funny. Who's going to watch the Odyssey? Cheyenne's hand is up. Daz's hand's up. Anyone else? I am likely.
Oh, I have the big old fancy pants 70mm IMAX tickets.
Oh, we are going big.
I'm jealous.
Robin says, I'm currently looking for IMAX tickets. KP Dubs wants to see Supergirl, though. I have not seen a movie that hasn't been for work in some time. I want to see He-Man. That is the millennial in me screaming. I want to watch He-Man. Also, there's conversation. Do we think Nick Galantine would be a good Carl? I think he's too pretty, but I've been thinking a lot about Carl casting, that's for sure. AKA husband shopping. Vanessa says, I'll see it. KP Dubs says, I need to see He-Man too. Avery says, I will be seated in the Dolby. Yes, I wouldn't mind doing another sort of Grecian tale as well. Ancient history was one of my favorite, if not my favorite subject at high school. I did not do modern history. I did not care about how guns could kill people really quickly in mass wars like that. I did love ancient Greece, talking about that, which is why some of the words are a little bit different for me, like Mycenaean. Mycenaean? Yeah, Mycenaean. Uzi Jesus says, Maud, I saw that Robbie Amell responded to Matt's announcement. Robbie Amell as Carl. Don't hate it. Don't hate it. How old is he, though? This is the thing. Carl's supposed to be 27, 28. And I have a feeling if this show goes on, it will be going on for quite some time. The Brad guy says, hi, Maud. I say hi. To be fair, Robbie looks young. Okay. Yeah, I might have to do a full video about casting for it. I saw Hannah Weddington as Hecla, and I love that casting. She would be fantastic. No, I don't think Peter Claffey for Carl. He's British, so I don't know how his American's going to go. But I don't see it. I don't see it. But I love that you do. I'm not shitting on it at all. I'm definitely open to hearing all Carl announcements. You know, sometimes it just clicks into place. That one for me just doesn't feel like it fits as much. If you can't do American, then boo. I really hope to see Prepotente cast as Matt Berry as Prepotente. As long as he's got the scream down. But yeah, that really pompous kind of voice could be good. They need an unknown for Carl. Lisa says every fan cast I've seen is way too old. Yeah, look, I've got a friend who I was literally talking to about the books, and he's an actor. And he's technically an unknown, but he's done a lot of work. And this is the thing. Everyone's like, oh, I think that this guy should. And you're like, he's never acted before. That's not an actor. You need someone who can actually act the role. So this guy's literally an actor as a full-time job. But he did just turn 40. But he doesn't really look 40. But he's got Carl to me. And the fact that I was talking to him and he's like, oh, I just started Dungeon Crawler, Carl. And I'm like, oh my God, you're Carl. You are Carl. And so now I got Matt to follow him on Instagram. Got the pool. Trying to make Carl's happen. Jason Manzukis for Uzi Jesus. I love that. That's the thing. There's so many people 10 years ago that would have been perfect for it, right? Cheyenne said, my husband just started Dungeon Crawler, Carl. Let's see if he rates it higher than me. What did you give the books? 3! I love that you wouldn't unmute to say that. You're just going to show us and be like, 3. Walton Goggins would be hilarious as Uzi Jesus. Sean says, I'm loving your Greek pronunciations with the accent. Yeah, it's interesting. We say a lot of things differently. And I think the British and American versions are very, very different. Berkey said, saw someone mock up Jensen Ackles as Carl. Looked great, but the age would be a concern. Yeah, that's a huge thing that's happening. Toaster Post says, hey, Cheyenne, 3 out of 3 is a really good score.
Okay, I'll get on. I've only read the first 2 or 3. Honestly, if I wanted to read this book, I would just play Borderlands. That's my biggest critique of this book, is I would just play Borderlands.
I love Borderlands, so that checks out.
I'm fine with Borderlands, but I would just play Borderlands. That's my biggest critique. That's
Robin's yelling in all caps.
Yeah, it's just Borderlands.
Robin, if you write like that, it just sounds like you're yelling. Say it.
Robin.
Oh, I'm fully aware, but
no, you're
Cheyenne,
supposed to say, I am yelling, Maud.
Come on, yell at me, Robin.
Yell at her. Thank you, Rocco. You got it. She is yelling. I am yelling, Carl. Mongo is appalled.
I will say, I am a physical or ebook reader. I did try the audiobook, and I'm not an audiobook person. And I will say it did improve my experience by doing the audiobook.
The best audio.
Because I was like, okay, I'll read it first, and then I'll do audiobook for the second book. And I will say it did improve it. So if I decide to continue, which I think I'm gonna at least try the next one, I will do audio.
Okay, hear me out. 4 is my least favorite. 4 is my least favorite.
Okay,
but 5,
I've done 1, 2.
5's the best.
And I have number 3. So I feel like if I don't click at number 3,
guys, don't tell her
I think
that
it's a
trains.
DNF series for me. I'll give it 3 books. Unless I can go to 4 and make it 4 out of 8. What are we at 8 now? Are we at 8 or 9? How many?
Hi, Jason. A catch is like saying, "Oh, stop talking about Dungeon Crawler, Carl." We have tangented it a little bit. We have. Really quickly, Lex says, "Can I just say I'm so excited for your panels at Lit RPG Con? Thank you so much for saying so. I'm really looking forward to doing them. I'm actually drafting up the curriculum for the workshops that I'm going to be hosting about interviewing and being interviewed, and I'm very excited about it." Gaia says, "I need Madeline Miller to release the Persephone book that she had teased." Oh my goodness, yes, yes. Let's talk about Chiron. Yes, so the Chiron chapters were my favorite in Song of Achilles. I liked that Chiron seems incredibly stable. I love that it was this like kind of training montage and that you saw them fall in love. Like these were some of my favorite chapters where, especially like in any sort of romance, it's the tension and anticipation of like realizing that you're on the same page. Like that is the most exciting part of a relationship, right? You're getting to know that person, you're falling in love with that person, and you're accepted by that person. Like, and then usually like once you're kind of locked in, you're like, yeah, okay. That part, as well as it being sort of like a training montage, I really, really loved it. We want to talk about acceptance because I think acceptance is a big theme of what we've been chatting about with the Song of Achilles, where acceptance in sort of like same-sex dalliances when you're younger, acceptable, get it out of your system. Same-sex relationships in that regard in adulthood, not as accepted. Patroclus being accepted by Thetis? Nope, that doesn't happen. Chiron
I'm going to kill your mother.
What's that?
I'm going to kill your mother.
Good. Yes, very on point for it. Chiron being a centaur. Now, in mythology, centaurs have always had sort of like a, they're only a half human. So if there's any sort of like representation of racism, it usually falls with centaurs because they're just like, you're lesser than. So having absolutely no issue with Chiron as a character, the acceptance of him being a centaur, and again watching a Patroclus watching Achilles like just grab him and hug him and thank him and like treat him as if he's just, you know, another person. That resonated with me in this time as well. Like, and Patroclus doesn't actually say that it's like there's a level of discomfort. It's the fact that Achilles is so comfortable around anyone and like, you know, can just behave and grasp and, you know, see eye to eye with a lot of those. I really liked that moment. But Chiron has earned his reputation. Like he is the mentor figure. And then he has acceptance in their relationship as well. So he's like, listen, your mum doesn't want this happening. This might not be accepted, but in my home that I've invited you into, totally okay to explore this here. Like, that's all good. Tim, your hand's up.
Yeah, I wanted to say Chiron is very he's portrayed as like the only quote unquote good centaur. Centaurs are usually very brash and drunkards and things of that nature, like outskirts of society, not necessarily like good people that you'd want to be around, right? Chiron
get
is
mad
the
that
opposite.
You called them people, right? Because you've just misraced them.
Well, but you get what I'm saying.
I do. But it depends which sort of like foray it's in. Sometimes you definitely see them as centaurs run in a pack, isolated away from humans. And whether that's humans not accepting them or centaurs not wanting to be a part of a human society is almost irrelevant. It's like a very separated sort of community society existence.
Yeah, but he's kind of portrayed as like the only quote unquote good centaur. And it's interesting that he's very, I want to say pragmatic, but that doesn't feel like the right word because he's very focused, right? He takes the boys and he's training them and, you know, he's like, okay, well, Achilles says something about wanting to learn how to fight. And so they take him out and he's like, show me what you know. And then he'll teach you from there. And so Achilles shows Chiron everything he knows. And he says, I can't teach you anything. And then he tells the same thing to Patroclus, show me what you know. And Patroclus does, and it's not great. And he says, do you want to learn more? And Patroclus says, no. And he says, okay, then I won't teach you anything. And so it's very like, he's very to the point, and he just accepts the boys as they are. And I think that's incredibly interesting because he doesn't try to change them at all. Whereas everybody else in their life is like, Achilles, you need to be this war hero. Patroclus, you need to be better than you are in every way, kind of thing. And Chiron just you're you, and I'll teach you what you want to learn. I don't care about teaching you anything you don't want to learn.
But
I just thought that was very interesting.
There are teachers that force, you know, and we all endured that at school. You show up to school to learn because you have to, right? That is how things go. You go to school whether you want to be there or not, whether you want to learn or not, and those that want to learn do better. Chiron is saying, if you don't want this, then I'm not going to waste my time. And if you do want to learn, I have so much that I can teach you, but you have to want to do it. Like, if you don't want to be here, don't be here. And I kind of like that as like a way of teaching. It's just when it's sort of uniformed in society as like a school and an education system, that's forced, right? And I don't know about you guys, I had a terrible high school because I felt the things that I liked, I excelled in. But the things that I didn't like, I did not want to be taught. There's two ways to go about it, you know. No one wants to train. Training is not fun. You don't show up being like, oh my God, I get to do drills today. No, you understand that it's a necessity of getting better. And to get better, you have to keep doing the thing. So there is a balance there, but I like Chiron as a mentor. Sean actually says, I liked what I liked was Chiron was very different from many other fantasy mentors. There is a stereotype for now I'm not saying it properly, even though I listened to it. Scythians? Scythian?
I think so.
Scythians. Occult says, one thing that I appreciated with this book is that the main characters are fleshed out. My only beef is that ancient Greek heroes have plot progression, but almost never have character growth. I think that Achilles, we saw his demise, which is growth, sure, but he's growing in a dangerous direction. But Patroclus gets a growth arc as well. And I do agree with you, but I can now hear the argument of, yeah, but if they didn't have it with each other, they didn't have it individually, they only had it with each other, so it's actually a form of codependence. Are they codependent? You fucking betcha. Like, who would Patroclus be if he wasn't accepted and, like, you know, taken on by Achilles? That's the majority of his life, is the fact that he was chosen, right? Who is he without him? I think that's what Jeff was trying to ask us earlier. Shan says, I think he grows more, but maybe just because it's his story more so. Jason said, wait, I'm now confused with Jason because Jason is another Greek hero. That's thrown me off. I'd say Achilles' mum had more character growth at the end than I expected. It's almost like she forgave him but couldn't forgive Achilles. When I first read that book, that moment broke me. He's waiting for you. Go. He's waiting for you. Fucking wrecked. Like, couldn't breathe. I was sobbing so hard. That got me. Because you're right. Like, Thetis has hated Patroclus from the start. Hates him. Doesn't want him to be around the sun. Thinks that he's beneath Achilles. Achilles keeps choosing Patroclus, and it's like, ugh. And then, yeah, I think the undeniable part is that they belong together. Whether you hate it, whether you love it, that's a part of the destiny as well. They were destined to be together, and she lets it happen. But, you know, is she the kind of person that would punish Patroclus just for the audacity for existing and keep them apart within the afterlife forever? Yeah, I think she is the kind of person that would do that. Do you think that because she just lost Pyrrhus and she'd poured 10 years into making Pyrrhus the next king, and then that backfires completely, that she's just has a sense of nothing, and so this is something that she can control, which will benefit something in her life? Does she do it for him? Is it selfless? Is it selfish to do it? Vaden.
So I think Thetis, despite being, like I said, kind of an antagonist for much of the book, did actually love Achilles. Like, that's why she granted Patroclus's wish to be with him, because she didn't trust him. She was very like, yeah, you're not worth, you're not worthy of my son. That's a big problem with a lot of parents, right? But like, I think it took a lot, and it took so much for her to be convinced. And seeing how Pyrrhus turned out, like, I think she kind of changed her mind a bit and saw with this combination of those two factors. I think she kind of relented and said, okay, I think you might have been my first choice, but in the end, it's not my choice; it's his choice. And she went with her son's decision.
Even though she'd kind of cut him out. They never spoke again. Well, he died, so I get it. And he'd already moved on into the afterlife. I think maybe there's a part in there where she thought that Pyrrhus was the better Achilles, but then realized the thing that Pyrrhus missed was compassion.
Yeah, like she
and that got him killed because he lacked compassion. And so then she demonstrated compassion after that moment.
Yeah, she also, one thing that she says that's really nice, that I think helps allow her personality to be, was that, like, she said she tried to make him a god, and that was important to him. She wanted to make him a god, I think, because she wanted him to be with her forever, because as an immortal, he's gonna die at some point.
Yeah.
Then with God, he'll be fine.
Then he has to love me. Yeah.
Yeah, and what Patroclus said that I think moved her also was, like, she said that I tried to make him a god, and he said, but you made him. So even if you didn't make him a god, you still made him. You were his birth mother, you are his mother, and in general, so, like, you're still a big part of his life. You still did something very important. So it's not, I think she's being hard on herself too. She failed at something she thought she had to do. And
yeah, I like that. Colleen, your hand is up.
I got the feeling that she didn't really even bother to get to know Achilles.
No, she didn't.
She had a vision of him. And it wasn't until Patroclus had taken the time to, I mean, he went through all of his memories, and she began to see Achilles for who he really was at that point.
Yes. Yeah, she did. She wanted him to go through all the memories. And he's like, oh, I've got endless. I can tell you everything. I can tell you the way that his face rests when he's in sleep. I can tell you what color his hair is when the light touches it. And she's just like, oh my God, you've seen my son in a way that I was never, ever able to. Cheyenne, you make a really good point. I don't care about theaters. I can't care about theaters by the end because I see it happen too much in real life. Not caring until something happens to them. The lack of empathy until it happens to them, or they experience tragedy. That's why I fucking hate Nesta. That's why I hate Nesta. So I completely agree with you. Too little, too late, sweetheart.
I think my lens was more so of like, because we are a queer story, because this is a queer story, my lens was more so of losing a child to like, and seeing like the regret afterwards, and losing people like a queer child or something like that. Like I was seeing it more in the queer lens of, the mother losing her queer child after not accepting her queer child. And that's like the lens that I was seeing Thetis. Wow. And that's what I was seeing.
And that is right there, isn't it? That is right there. She never
That's the lens that I was seeing.
Shit. I saw it as show mum. I thought it was show mum only, that she wanted to control her offspring so that she could feel important and have purpose. But
I will say the Nesta thing was funny, but I just had to be serious for a second.
No. I'm so glad you did, because that's completely switched my perspective on her as a character. Absolutely. She has no... Like she didn't accept their relationship. She wasn't happy that he'd found love with a man. Now, whether it was because of a man or because, she wanted her son all to herself, or, that's kind of a bit blurry, because it was never like, I didn't raise my son to be gay. Now, that happens a lot in communities where you see children not be accepted by their parents, which is devastating. Absolutely not the experience in my household. My mum was waiting for one of us to come out because she's had her speech ready to go just in case, so that, we felt so loved and accepted no matter what. I think I told you the story. My brother had to take the bins out. She's like, can you take the bins out? And he's like, okay. She's like, you're gay? Okay. And he's like, I said okay. And if I were going to come out, it wouldn't be to get out of doing the bins. Like, what? And she was like, just letting you know that if you are gay. And he's like, I'm not gay. I'm taking the bins out. Okay, that's the only thing coming out right now. The bins out of the house. Anyway, my brother is married with 2 kids. But that was like a really interesting insight to my mum as well on acceptance. But, on TikTok, I saw a Muslim boy, he's a man. He came out to his mum, and she just sat there going, I can't accept this. I can't accept this. And he's like, Mum, what do you mean you can't accept this? Like, it's me. I can't help this. I cannot choose. I'm not choosing being gay. I just am. And she's just shaking her head being like, I can't accept this. And it was fucking devastating. And I think, a huge reason why the queer community is so drawn to and needs found family as a genre is because they're often not, there is a chance, or it's experienced, that they are not accepted by their family. And I couldn't think of something more heartbreaking, because it is out of your control. No one wakes up and they're like, I think I'll be gay today. It is just like, oh, wow, I'm experiencing things that I have not really, it's not been demonstrated that this is acceptable, especially in big media. I was actually hearing, I think it was like an A-list celebrity, and I don't want to say just in case I get it wrong, because I don't want to start a rumor that's not true. But they were like, there shouldn't be same-sex relationships in cartoons for children. I was like, why not? And I guess it's a very different experience for me. I have a gunkle. Having a gunkle is, I wish everyone had a gunkle. It's one of the best things ever. So I'm lucky that I have a gunkle. But, I saw my uncle with his partner from being a child the whole way through. I was at his wedding, and it was really sad because it wasn't acceptable in Australia. Gay marriage didn't exist until like 2019 or 2018 or something. Gunkle is a gay uncle. We need to have people come out as straight too. This is the thing, right? This is what skews from normal. The normal thing is a hetero relationship, right? That is what's been deemed by society as normal. So if you are something that is not normal, you make it feel like that's where shame comes into it. I'm not normal. I'm not following protocol of like society. I'm the one who's different. I'm the one who's strange. And that's just not the case at all, which is why I do think we should normalize everything, because being gay is normal. And so if you have more examples of that in childhood, and it's like hatred is taught. Ugh. Kids are so accepting. Kids are so accepting because they haven't learnt prejudice at that stage. Hence why subversion is so important in queer media. So Avery, I am making your point right now, and I'm hearing that, and now I'm applying it to this book, and I get it more. And this was an important conversation to have. Colleen says, I've been so proud to see how my son and daughter-in-law accepted their trans daughter-in-law. There you go. It's beautiful. Does that mean a lesbian aunt is a lant? A lant. I don't have a lesbian aunt, so I don't know. But I do have a gunkle. Rocco said, oh no. What? Well, that's a big part of the gay community as well, was the AIDS epidemic and them not really knowing what to do with it, and needle sharing. They just did not know that that's how AIDS was, hepatitis was spreading. They didn't know that transferring needles was a huge oversight. Good convo. That is time. I still love the book. I think I'm always going to love the book. I think it's the writing of the book. And I think what I love about it is the strongest, biggest, most masculine warrior just without hesitation keeps choosing a man every step of his journey. And I love that. Occult says, book good, 4 out of 5. If you didn't give your scores, drop your scores now. Guy said, I really love this book. Thank you, book club, for introducing me to it. Cheyenne says it's still a 5 out of 5 for me. I enjoyed reading it more the first time. It's hard to go back to a book that you know will break you. I mean, Vanessa said that. I loved it. I only need to read it once. I've done it twice. But I did take away, not as much as Avery, which I love that. I love the difference between your first read and your second read because of the education that you've had, of the saturation genre that you've experienced. But like, I think that that's really important. There's so many things that are like, I remember loving this and now I have a completely different take on it now that I've lived more. So it didn't hit as hard for me this time, whereas the first time I read it, it emotionally wrecked me. But I love being in this book. I love reading it. I love the book. James gave it a 4. Phantom gave it a 3.5. Toaster Poster said still a 5 out of 5. Book good. Lisa, you said same. Guy said it's a good example of why it's important to revisit pieces of media as you continue through life. Exactly. James says that concludes the discussion of Achilles. I don't think Gaston and Achilles are close as characters. I think that when Achilles starts losing himself, he becomes a little bit more Gaston-esque. But the first half of the book, Achilles, is one of my favorite characters. I love first half of the book, Achilles. And I really do think it is, what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? And he wasn't a dick. He had compassion. He supported his comrades. He chose breaking the stereotype or what was allowed and what wasn't allowed. First half of the book, Achilles, with end of the book, Patroclus. But that's the other thing about the tragedy, right? Because if only they would have get that. If only this didn't happen, and then this didn't happen, and then this didn't happen. Holy shit, what a tragedy. Yeah. Jason says, my daughter has so many doting gunkles. I couldn't be happier. Sean has a gunkle. Oh, I love this. Sean says Bert and Ernie. Yeah, but they were roommates. They were besties. That wasn't like, But again, as a kid, you're like, oh, 2 men live together. That's not weird. It's not weird. If you're best friends, of course you would live with them. Next month, we've been reading the Stormlight Archive the last year. We will read a book every few months, but because they are so big, we will only do the one book. I do have homework if you would like a little bit more reading. Felicia Day wrote a book. Let me get the name of it right. It is a Greek story. It is The Lost Daughter of Sparta. It came out last year. It's got a 4.8 out of 5 on Audible, 4.2 on Goodreads, which is exceptional. This is a sapphic graphic novel. Oh, we got a sapphic graphic over here. And we haven't locked it in yet, but we've spoken about it. Hopefully, I get to interview Felicia Day about The Lost Daughter of Sparta. So if you need something to read in the month of July, I think because the Odyssey is coming out, because we've just done Song of Achilles, if we've kind of got the Greek mythology or storytelling fix, then feel free to read The Lost Daughter of Sparta, and we can do, I can have a chat with Felicia about her book, which is really exciting. But we will be doing Wind and Truth by Brandon Sanderson. It is the last of the Stormlight Archive that's out at this moment, which means we will need a new series after this one. I know, Tim, and I'm pretty sure we're going to be doing it. I think I've mapped out the rest of the year of the books. It's really hard to convince me of a book that I haven't read. So just a heads up, if it's in my TBR, it is way more likely to be on that list there. I'm going to have a chat with the Members Plus about that list after this. If you want to be a member, head over to patreon.com/Maud's Book Club. There's a few tiers there. If you like, if you want access to the docs, if you want to ask docs as in documents that we have for the shows, the question documents that I have for all of the interviews that I do, if you want to unlock the locked channels in Patreon, if you want all those fun things, you can be a member. If you want to join the shows, though, for the streams, that's a Member Plus perk. If you want merch that you cannot buy, that you help design, that's the merch tier. If you want to play video games, and we're doing a Dungeon Crawler Carl Tabletop RPG show, which is actually kind of wrapping up, isn't it? We've only got 3 more levels of that. Oh, yeah. That's the Game On tier. I will see you in the Discord, but yeah, Wind and Truth will be happening. The dates are out for that already. I have a very busy July, so wish me luck. I have already started Wind and Truth, and because we're meeting this time next week, I suggest you do the same. Is it this time next week? It is. It's a week. And guys, this book is 1,300 plus fucking pages. Every portion of this, we're doing 3 streams on it as well. Every portion, 63 hours of audiobook. Every portion of this that we're going to do for the stream is the length of a book. So get reading, guys, or listening. Goodness me. Pass, says Tim. I get it. But that was a really great discussion. Thank you for everyone who contributed to it. Whether you loved the book or didn't, I love the conversations. I love learning. So thank you so much for all of it. My eye is twitching. I'm going to quickly raid on Twitch. So stick around, but I'm going to end the stream for everyone else.
Granny Q is live again.
Who is? Granny?
Granny Q. She just went live a little bit ago.
Great. She's so sweet. All right. Make Granny's day. Bye, everyone. Wait, 7 seconds. Let's count it down. Oh, we should probably look at men kissing again. There we go.